All right, we are live. I wanted to just give you guys some hope and inspiration here. If you're ever struggling with indebtedness, there is a way out of indebtedness. I'm getting this from the book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity Forces That Bring Riches to You by CatherinePonder. And I'm in this chapter here. It talks about there is a way out of indebtedness. Indebtedness may appear to be very big in your world, but it need only be a temporary situation if you dare to begin believing there is a way out. Perhaps one of the greatest barriers to freedom from indebtedness is fear and desperation. When they are overcome, you are on your way to financial freedom. I recently talked with a man whose wife had feared that he was contemplating suicide. He was heavily in debt and could see no way out. He had been in an accident, and it had taken a year of recuperation before he returned to his business. Meanwhile, others, lacking his experience and knowledge, had to be relied upon to run his business. Though conscientious in their desire to help, they almost bankrupted him. Because of his large indebtedness and lack of sufficient collateral, this man had been unable to obtain a loan from the lending agencies to ease the situation. He declared, "If I could obtain even $5,000 or $6,000, it would meet the most pressing debts and keep my business solvent until I could get the business activated again." He was feeling quite desperate when he talked with me. I began to realize that two definite attitudes prevailed which were keeping a solution from appearing. First, this fine businessman had sunk into discouragement and despair. There seemed no way out, nowhere to turn. Second, he felt a sense of great loss about the year he had been ill. He kept telling himself, "If only I had not been in that accident, this would not have happened." Such attitudes are normal for people in debt. But once those attitudes are changed, the whole situation will change. The whole situation will change. Once those attitudes are changed, the whole situation will change, and very fast. Always, for every problem, there is a way out. There is a divine solution. To help establish and maintain the prosperous attitude until it could prove itself, I suggested that he daily affirm, "There is a divine solution to this situation. The divine solution is the sublime solution. I give thanks that the divine solution quickly appears now." For his feeling of loss about the year away from work, these ideas were suggested. Although it seems dismal at the moment, begin knowing that there need be no permanent loss in this experience. Begin knowing that there need be no permanent loss in this experience. That which seems to have been lost during this year's illness can be divinely restored to you financially and otherwise. To help him maintain and establish this attitude, these words were typed on a card for him to carry in his wallet. Daily, when discouragement or a sense of loss tried to envelop him, he was urged to read these words over and over. "I give thanks for divine restoration in my business affairs. Divine restoration is now doing its perfect work for all involved, and the perfect result appears now. I give thanks that every financial obligation is now being met in God's own wise and wonderful way." For a number of weeks, this businessman daily declared these ideas to himself. No change seemed to be coming forth for a number of weeks. No change seemed to be coming forth, even when he was daily declaring them every day, these ideas to himself. But he persisted in knowing that there was a solution. He persisted in claiming divine restoration. One day the picture began to change through an unusual series of events. He and his wife attended a family reunion, where his deceased brother's wife called him aside and said, "Years ago, when you first began buying into my husband's business, which later became your own, I felt that he overcharged you for the initial down payments. Now that he is gone, I no longer wish to retain the building which houses your business. I also wish to see financial debt restitution made to you for that large initial payments. An appraiser tells me that the building is worth $25,000 if I sell it outright. However, I will be happy to sell it to you for $10,000. Further appraisals revealed that this man could obtain a total loan of $16,000. After purchasing the building, he still had $6,000 to clear up pressing debts and have operating cash. As these affairs unfolded, he was filled with new hope, and thereafter he received increased business, which helps to bring order and prosperity out of previous chaos and failure. Indeed, divine restoration did take place for him." Amazing story. So something that I'm working on here is this next points. She says it in her audiobook. It's on the You Are Creators YouTube channel. Listen to this or do this for 30 days, CatherinePonder, where she says that the people that are the most broke, they talk the most about it. They just talk about how they're broke all the time. Sorry, no, I can't afford that. No, I can't go. I don't have any money. And watch your idle words and your idle thoughts too. Speak words of prosperity. There's no need to start telling everyone you don't have money. It's unnecessary. Think about how you can get it and speak words of prosperity to yourself and others more often so that you'll actually have it. Speak what you want, not what you got. You're hung by the tongue. He who keeps his mouth keeps his life, and people they will eat the fruit of they'll enjoy the fruit of their mouth. Life or death is in the power of the tongue. So keep quiet about indebtedness. That's what I need to do. It's a good reminder for me. Many people who get into debt would not remain in it if they would keep quiet about their financial affairs. By magnifying their obligations, they clutch those circumstances to them ever more tightly. If they would keep quiet, keep going, do the best they could to meet their obligations, and affirm divine guidance, the way would open to clear up all indebtedness. If they would keep quiet, keep going, do the best they could to meet their obligations, and affirm divine guidance, the way would open to them to clear up all indebtedness. The well-known Bible story of Elisha and the widow is a subtle example of this. When the widow lamented to Elisha of her sad plight and that a creditor was going to take her sons from her, Elisha did not sympathize with her. Instead, he told her to go into her house, shut the door, and start pouring out the oil she had on hand. This is a wonderful Oriental way of telling her to cease her wailing about her debts and financial problems, and to begin using whatever substance was on hand to meet the situation, knowing that as she did her part, substance would multiply to fill every need. I'm thinking of Jesus giving thanks for the 2 loaves and the 3 fish, or whatever number, the small amounts to feed the 5,000 people, or when Jesus says, "Oh, you got to pay your taxes, you got to pay your debts. Go over to the fish. Go over the fish. Get the fish and open its mouth. There'll be gold in there to pay your debts. Oh, you guys didn't catch any fish today? Go back out there. I know you've been out there all day, but go back out there and just cast your nets on the right side, on the righteous side, and see what happens. And you'll have an overflowing supply, more than enough than you could ever possibly need, than you could ever use. Open the floodgates of heaven. Pour out a blessing that'll be too much for you to receive." A widow in recent times likewise proved the prospering power of Elisha's advice. This woman had had a very troubled life. She was lonely, in debt, unhappy in her work, dissatisfied with her life in general. While she sought freedom from indebtedness, all the time she bemoaned how harshly life had treated her. Her financial circumstances became more stringent than ever, though she continued to receive pay raises and other financial blessings. Finally, she realized that, in talking hard times, her very words were her worst enemy. She became silent about her financial affairs. For all the hard experiences of her life, she was asked to affirm divine restoration and to dwell upon the promises of the Bible, in the Bible, the law and the promise. As she began to meditate on these promises, everything in her life changed. She received a promotion with a pay increase. A friend of long standing, whom she had once aided, decided to show appreciation by giving her $1,000. With this money, she paid her debts. She paid her debts and was financially free for the first time in years. Soon she married happily after having been alone for 20 years. Truly, the years which financial lack had consumed were restored to her. Speak only in prosperous terms. Instead of worrying, fretting, or talking about your debts, it pays to affirm prosperous results and to speak only in prosperous terms. Words of prosperity pay the bills. Words of praise pay the bills. Words of praise prosper us now. A woman who had been out of work due to ill health found herself deeply in debt, but she constantly talked negatively about her situation. One night, she and her daughter attended a lecture on prosperity. When they returned home, they decided to use an affirmation given in the lecture. Everything and everybody prospers us now, and we prosper everything and everybody now. They began declaring these words together each night for 5 minutes before retiring. Within a week, a check of $2,500 came to them. Within a week, representing a sum which had long been lawfully owed them, but their lawyer had been unable to collect it. As they changed their words when speaking about their financial affairs, it was as though all involved suddenly wanted to prosper them, rather than to withhold anything from them. An artist was in debt because she had been unable to sell any of her paintings for a number of months. One night she attended a prayer group in which the power of praying affirmatively. One night she attended a prayer group in which the power of praying affirmatively about financial problems was emphasized. At this meeting, it was suggested that each one take an affirmation and use it during the coming week for prosperity needs. This idea seemed a radically different approach to the artist, who had always felt that perhaps it was wrong to pray about money and financial problems. Joyously she began to daily declare, "Everything and everybody prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everybody now." 4 days later, she sold a painting for $75, her first sale in months. Immediately, other sales were made, and soon every financial obligation had been met. No one can withhold your prosperity. Many people also get into financial lack and remain there because they think someone else is keeping their prosperity from them. As long as they think someone else has that power, they themselves are decreeing that it is true. But once they change the trend of their thinking, their good can appear in spite of any outer circumstances. A widow, who had tried in vain for over a year to settle her deceased husband's estate, was heavily in debt because an unexpected heir had appeared so that a court proceeding became necessary. The estate funds were under court control. For months, she had been living meagerly from day to day, hoping that the estate would soon be settled, and that she would receive a check in full for the inheritance which was rightfully hers. Each time it seemed near settlement, the case was delayed because of further resistance from the other heir. During a period when her creditors were pressing hard for payment of some of her late husband's bills, this woman was given prosperity articles to read by a friend. In them, she found this affirmation: I dissolve in my own mind and in the minds of all others any idea that my God-given good can be withheld from me. Those financial blessings that are mine by divine right now come to me in abundance, and I joyously accept them. Fascinated with the possibility of this simple approach to her problem, this woman sat quietly all afternoon, writing out and affirming this statement over and over. As she did, she began to feel a sense of dominion welling up within her about her financial affairs. She also began to feel more kindly toward that unexpected heir, who was trying to force his claim on her husband's estate. The more she thought peacefully about him, the more she could see why he felt entitled to certain financial assets. Finally, she telephoned her lawyer, told him to use his own judgment in settling the estates, but to feel free to give that heir certain portions of the stocks, bonds, and oil properties which he claimed. Within a few days, the estate that had been pending for months was settled, so that all involved were satisfied, prospered, and blessed. This woman now feels that her God-given good came to her from the settlement of the estates, and she did not miss the financial assets shared with this unexpected heir. Deliberately think big. In another instance, a realtor found himself going into debt because some of his apartments were not renting during a summer slack period. Friends told him, "You will never rent those apartments at the price you're asking. You are thinking too big. If you cut your rental price, perhaps you may be able to rent them for the coming season." This man attended a prosperity lecture where he heard, "You can never think too big. Dare to think big. Dare to affirm big ideas. Dare to expect big results. Such attitudes are the difference between a prince and a pauper." This man realized that he must deliberately think big and speak prosperously if he wished to rent his properties and pay his debts. For the rental of his apartments, he began affirming statements that has prospered countless people. "I love the highest and best in all people, and I now draw the highest, best, and most prosperous minded people to me." Though he had shown the unrented apartments several times without success, the very next client to appear was delighted with his apartments and rented one for the season for $2,000. As he continued using this prosperous statement, his other properties were rented easily. Within a short time, he received checks totaling $8,000, which enabled him to become debt-free. Begin to pay cash for more items. Along with getting prosperous attitudes about our financial affairs, it is good to do whatever tangible or intangible thing you can to get the feeling that you are clearing up indebtedness. For instance, begin paying cash for items, though you may do so in a small way. Just by releasing cash for such items rather than by charging them, you begin to get a sense of freedom from debt. I know of two housewives who decided that the approaching holiday season was the time to prove. The approaching holiday season was the time to prove this, as it is now, guys. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming up, New Year's Day 2020 is on the horizon. Now's the perfect time. They stopped charging gift items and began paying cash as they shopped. Later, they declared that spending cash gave them a sense of joy and freedom. In each instance, they found as they blessed and gave thanks for divine wisdom in using the cash on hand, money kept coming to them for Christmas giving. So, in that other book, I recommend it. Maybe I'll put a link in the description to it for the audio with CatherinePonder. It's actually her, I think, at a prosperity lecture talking, which is great. You hear her voice. It's really inspiring, really encouraging because you know that she has actually gotten results from this. You could just feel it. You can feel it in her voice. The confidence, where she says words of praise will pay the bills. The way she says it, and she knows it works, and it's just super inspiring. I'll tell you guys, I've been in that situation where I felt overwhelmed from financial debt and suicidal, as she mentioned other people. And those words are amazingly encouraging, exhorting, super inspiring, and they make you feel alive and still want to continue living. "I will not die but live and declare the works of the Lord." In that audio, also says that it was approaching holiday season, and she had someone that was didn't have a lot of money, and she had someone, her friend, that was into this prosperity type of thinking, and she had told her to daily declare, "I have plenty to share and to spare." But it's important to be definite about exactly specific about prosperity, exactly what you have to share and to spare, because she had said that a lot, and she ended up having plenty of fruitcake to share and to spare. But what she really needed was more money. So be definite about prosperity so that prosperity can get definite about you. So one housewife went, I'm going to continue reading here. One housewife went all through the holiday season without charging anything. She stated that she also gave the best gifts ever. The other housewife finally resorted to her charge accounts for a few gifts, but she had already purchased so many for cash that the few charged did not give her a sense of burden. She did not dread facing payments of them in the new year, and she could quickly pay them as they came due. Dismiss financial mistakes of past. Another financial attitude that binds many people to indebtedness is this. Like Lot's wife, they continue to look back, and their body turns into salt looking back. They worry about financial mistakes of the past, and thus crystallize their thinking, which manifests as present indebtedness. When you look back, there is no room in your thinking for new ideas which could clear up past mistakes and indebtedness. To forgive yourself and others of past mistakes is essential if you wish to be permanently free of financial burdens. If such memories try to haunt you, use this statement. The forgiving love of divine intelligence has set me free from the past and from the financial mistakes of the past. I now face the present and the future wise, secure, and unafraid. It will work wonders for you and for others. I now work wonders in my life with prosperity affirmations. Say it with me, guys. I now work wonders in my life with prosperity affirmations. Now get more definite. I now work financial wonders in my life with prosperity affirmations. $10,000 profit per month is normal for me, natural. It will work and easy and harmonious. It's a labor of love. It will work wonders for you and for others. As stated in the vacuum law of prosperity, it is necessary that we constantly forgive ourselves and others if we wished to be prospered. Reread that chapter to help yourself and others to overcome indebtedness. I should read that chapter because vacuum law is also about literally vacuuming your house, cleaning up, tidying up. And that's what I need to do. Ask for prosperous ideas. Along with establishing prosperous attitudes and following through with prosperous actions, one should ask for prosperous ideas about financial matters. A businessman had reached the age of 40 and had gone as far as he could with his company, unless one of its owners retired. This very fine Christian man did not wish to succeed through such circumstances, but he was growing desperate. Even though he and his wife both worked, they were heavily in debt trying to meet the needs of their growing family. They could see no way to a larger income in their present circumstances. When this man talked with me, he said, I need more self confidence in knowing that somehow I can meet this situation victoriously. I suppose I also need more order in my affairs so that I might know which way to turn. It was suggested that he go about establishing order in an easy, quiet, satisfying way rather than suddenly to become aggressive, which might lead to confusion and antagonism with others. It was suggested that he begin spending a few minutes every morning and night to quietly meditate and ask for divine guidance about his financial affairs. His first reaction was, what good will that do? You mean God knows or cares about my financial affairs? It was a revelation and a relief to this man to hear that a rich and loving father cares about the financial needs of his children. This prayer was suggested for his use. Father, what is the rich truth about my financial affairs? What is your highest good for all in this situation? At first, no answer to this questioning prayer came, but this man did notice that he was more peaceful than he had been in years. With the increased feeling of peace, he began to feel more in control of himself, his family affairs, and his financial world. One night, As he was decreeing the rich truth, an idea flashed into his mind with such force that he almost fell out of his chair. It was not a new idea. It had come to him many times before, but he had disregarded it. It was an idea to develop a new department that could mean fresh growth and prosperity for his firm. Never before had he been strongly enough convinced of the power of this idea to approach his superiors. The next day he found the perfect opportunity for speaking with his boss about it. His boss was both surprised and pleased that this quiet little man was thinking in such big, progressive, and prosperous terms about the company. In due time, he was allowed to develop his idea for a special department. A new title and much better income accompanied it. Other financial surprises followed, with one member of his family receiving an unexpected inheritance. By praying for divine guidance and divine ideas, this man's debts of long standing were paid. A whole new level of prosperous living opens to him and his family. A good statement to hold in mind for this purpose is: divine intelligence now inspires me with prosperous ideas, and with divine action in perfectly expressing those ideas. Indebtedness can be a blessing in disguise. Indebtedness can be blessing in disguise. Indebtedness can be a tremendous blessing in disguise. When unpleasant experiences come upon you, it is often because there are new ways of living and new methods of work trying to open to you. In most instances of indebtedness, those who are financially embarrassed are very fine people who are trying to live prosperously on a limited income. However, if they have rich desires, it is because they also have rich talents and abilities that are seeking expression. I'm about to cry reading this right now. I hope you guys are too hearing this. Their desire for richer good is very strong, but their bank account has not been equally expanded. Often they are people who are doing a mediocre work when their talents and abilities, if developed, would bring them a rich income to balance out their rich desires. Dare to use new ideas that come to you when you are working out financial problems. Reread, study, and follow some of the suggestions for developing your talents and abilities that are given in the chapters on work and on financial independence. When you are trying to find your financial freedom, begin to bring it forth by declaring often, "There are good days ahead. There are rich days ahead." When fear about present problems seems to engulf you, remind yourself, God's way for me is joyous, a way of safety and security. I give thanks that I now walk in paths of pleasantness, prosperity, and peace. For development of your talents and abilities to bring great satisfaction, declare often, the boundless, limitless power that created the universe is now accomplishing in and through me all that is for my highest good in minds, body, and affairs. I give thanks that I am divinely equipped to accomplish great things with ease. Hope that inspired you guys, man. Hope that was a blessing to you to hear these words, get these ideas in your mind, because certainly they are for me. I definitely recommend this book. Definitely recommend it. CatherinePonder, yo. Life changing. Big time life changing. The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. Fascinating book. Take care, guys. Be blessed.